So Rawway released this album called Nostalgia, and it's I think it's for the most part I've listened to most of this album. And I think it's a good album. I think it's a good album so far, right? But it's the song that I kind of wanted to discuss. I think discussing this song, and if I haven't announced it, oh, we skipped the title. Welcome to the World of King CJ Music Podcast. So let's get into this, where we discuss. I mean, we discuss a lot of different topics, and we discuss a lot of things. But Rawway's "Boys Don't Cry." It's unique. It's different compared, especially if this is one like the leading singles to this song, to this album that dropped. It's 11. I assume it's a very long album. This is the 11th song, I believe. If I'm correct, this is the 11th song. I don't know. It brings a lot of different emotions out, and I know that we're in that kind of mental health month for a lot of people. Just genuinely, it's mental health month or similar thing. I don't know how close I can get to saying the word. So it's a similar month, right? And it's to hear him release two versions of Boys Don't Cry. I don't know. It's to me. I think the acoustic version is better, but I think overall this song, no, it hits a lot of different topics. It hits a lot of different topics, and I'm not really sure. Like, I'm not really sure how to feel about this song. I think this song has a lot of like different like things that could have been bad about the song. A lot of things that could have went good about the song. A lot of different things. I'm not entirely sure which one I agree with more when I say this song could have been better in so many different ways. I think it's unique. I will give them that. However, this song is one of the shorter. This song is short. This song is only like 2 minutes long, and it's unique, and it's unique in a way that it's presented to us, especially when you hear the oh at the beginning. It's very it's he talks about a lot of different things, but then when he says he's on a planet on his own, and he goes through a lot of pain. It's definitely weird because it's it's unique in a way that it's presented to each other, right? But at the same time, we hear things where he goes, sometimes I get on my own and wander out of space, which I think could be his idea of daydreaming, where you just are dreaming of other things, and which is fairly normal. We'll say daydreaming is fairly normal, or it's more normal than people expect it to be, which is fine. I think everyone daydreams certain things. And he says, and we could argue that this is for someone because I love you, but I'm full of rage, and our past is full of pain, which I think pain doesn't necessarily mean like the physical, but it also doesn't mean emotional. Pain can mean so much, so many different things, and it's a unique way to look at things, especially when Rawway is going through these, because he's speaking his emotions the same. And when his title of "Boys Don't Cry," it's almost as this tradition of boys don't show emotion, and so he's just kind of showing emotion. And he says, it's weird. He says in a weird way, he kind of goes, my music is full of pain. I keep my problems to myself, and that kind of relates that back to this title of Boys Don't Cry," and it's because a lot of people will tell guys or males, don't cry over situations because it's not necessarily a good thing. But he on the same kind of bar, he mentions that he's on his own planet, feeling like an alien, which to some extent we can, like, he's living, like, he's feeling strange in his own planet, which I think a lot of people will say that, and not in the aliens context of the hearings that we've heard that aliens exist, or we have spottings of them, but more of the context in which we say that we're not feeling ourselves, or we feel like strangers in our world, which a lot of people do. And I think this being part of the month is the reason he partially released the way he did. And I think this song in itself is a concept that I've been realizing that a lot of people do and a lot of people don't say. Like, this song is the way that it says it, and it's unique. I've never, and you can't show emotions. There's a lot of people that bottle it up, and he says it. I keep my mouth shut. He says, yeah, I keep my mouth closed because sometimes my thoughts can be too deep. When it gets deep and you start asking yourself deep questions, it's not the best. I've been alone going on. Sounds like it's depression. And as I said, I don't know when he actually wrote this song or when he did this song, but it sounds like it sounds like he's trying to describe depression without saying it, and I don't know. And I say that from the context in the song where he goes, I've been alone, I can't go to sleep. In the same context, he says, I've been all alone for myself for 2 weeks. Me, myself, and my blankets. Just been kind of been in my bed though. I'm just dealing with self-logical questions that I ask myself when I'm in deep thought. And I think to some extent, it happens to a lot of people. And I think this album being called Nostalgia is just part of that reason why that's why the way it is. And then we get that final answer. I want to call your phone so we can speak, but I feel too weak. And it's that simple line where we get to his next bar where he goes, I get on the internet and I see the world laugh about my depression, as in creatively or how he views himself, which we could argue depression comes from a lot of different things, and a lot of different factors, and a lot of standpoints, and a lot of different things. But he does mention this point of he mentions this point of he goes on the internet, see the world laughing at his pain. We can say that there's some artists that post about their lives on social media. There's not a real glimpse of it, but you can see sometimes they post about it. And Rod Wave, anyway, Rod Wave is known for like posting stuff on his stories, and it sometimes it can be extremely deep, and some people don't take it serious in certain tweets that they make, and it's weird, especially when you're being a celebrity. It's very hard for a lot of celebrities to handle that, especially newer artists or newer celebrities. They don't know how to handle the discussion of how do I deal with the world laughing at the emotions that I put out because it's not related to music or other music like that. And that's fine, but I also think he could be talking about that album that's called Journey, which was released recently. But it was a couple hours back. If people were clowning the way that song that we'll call it an EP came out, then I can understand his thinking, or that it's a viral video of him too. At the same time that you hear him singing in a school, and he's very soulful about it, and I don't know if that's what he's saying. They paint a perfect picture, but I ain't buying what they're selling, which is, I think that thing is for people look at celebrities or people look at people's pages on social media, and they're showing this glamorous life of how people have been in Greece, Rome, or other places, and these genuine people look happy, but people never know what happens behind the scenes for a lot of different, people don't know what happens behind the scenes for a lot of different people in a lot of different situations. So for him to make that reference, it's almost for him to stand down and say everything you see on somebody's social media isn't real, and I'm not buying it. There's a lot of people that can't distinguish the two. So when he says that, I'm like, I understand that, that's a perfect picture. I don't know. I don't necessarily know, and I don't know how much of my audience knows this, and I don't know, and I don't want to assume everyone knows this, but he says, you can collect calls from the county, always could make me smile, which could be somebody that he knows is in a county jail, and they get a collect call, and where they're talking, where it's not a very long time, but it's very short. I think the average call for a collect call is 5 minutes at that, so it's not a very long time, but you get to spend time with people, or people you're really you love talking to, and it's you see at the same time that people are in situations for a lot of different reasons, and how they got there could be a vast majority of different things. But he says, you know, that call and it makes you smile. But in this reference, I think he's talking about his brother because that next line is, my bro, my brother, you were on the streets. Now you're going to trial, which is just the average wait for a trial is a long time. It's a lot of prelims. It's a lot of jury selection. It's a lot of things that go into a court case, and a lot of court cases don't go to trial. Many do plea deals. So when you're sitting in a court, when you're sitting in a jail or a county jail, a prison, what's the other, a federal detention center, it's very hard to it takes a while, and it takes a lot mentally to be prepared to be in jail or be in a county, just to be in jail or a prison for an extremely long amount of time. It's very taxing on the body mentally and physically as well. And that's why when we see a lot of these celebrities come out of jail, we get to this situation where people are trying to justify it, and it's people are like, oh, these people went to jail and they look completely different, or they act completely different, or they're being different. It's weird. You hear this next line. This next line is, I think it could relate to him or his brother, but he says, "Yeah, I made it out the streets. I hope you're finally proud. You're young and jumped out with the K in broad daylight, shooting at the crowd. Now he getting on stage and singing his music loud, which is in the same context. He talks about, let me keep my music and let me take everything and let me keep my soul and my music, which is him just being genuine with himself, and he's like, I'm gonna be genuine without the fame. Take away the fame, take away all of this, and I'm still gonna be genuinely myself and my soul, making music. My music about a guy crying, which to some extent, if you, it's very, a lot of people get stuck into the fame, and then when they get stuck into the fame, they kind of lose a part of themselves or lose their soul, lose their soul. But it seems that he doesn't care, and he's just like, I've made it out of the streets. I've kind of been able to be like an artist, kind of make it. I've been able to see a lot. We'll say a few more dollars than I've ever seen in my life. So I made it out the streets from when I was younger, and jumping out in the streets with the K, which we can argue what the K means. But as I said, this podcast is not to bring cases on anybody, so gun references or violent related things we won't go too into detail with, just because I think it's a bad thing to try to decriminalize. It's a bad thing, and it's not a good thing to try to decriminalize music. But at the same time, we have to decriminalize music to make music, right? Because people are speaking from their hearts. And if I can catch a reference and a lot of people can't, I would just prefer, they deserve some, privacy. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to skip over those lines. But he just, in broad daylight, and he just says at the crowd, and now I'm on stage. He's like, now I'm going on stage and just singing in front of a crowd, the music of my soul, like, my emotions. And it's weird, okay? Because it's this, he's fighting the stereotype of that boys shouldn't cry because they shouldn't have their emotions, and then he's trying to say that he's an outlet for people that need to get their emotions out. He's that outlet for it, which I think is a brilliant way to do it, because he touches on a lot of topics that aren't going to be covered by most mainstream artists. There's rap, there's streets, and then there's that genre that people are like, if you're in this genre, you won't ever get sales. And we've seen with artists like Drake that's not possible, and Rod Wave, we've seen that as well. As long as you're genuine, fans will love your music, and I do love this song. I don't know, he says, take away my name, so just take away the fame and take away my name. Take away I think he's talking about his performance name when he says this. Take away my throne, take away the throne that they put me on, or this pedestal of me being a celebrity. And let me keep my soul. Smiling outside but dying inside. Listen to a grown man cry, which is which to some extent we have to understand. Like there's a lot of I'll say there's a lot of men and women, right? There's a lot of men, there's a lot of women, but there's a lot of men that have been told this idea of men don't show emotion, so they're smiling outside or trying to put on a good act, and then they're crying deep down inside. And it's we could argue that is pushed by generations and generations of this idea that people have been trying to tell people to do for years. But that's why we hear this line of "listening to a grown man cry," and I think he's referring to the song. But it's genuinely true. Like a lot of artists, a lot of a lot of artists genuinely don't try to cry, but they try to express themselves through their music. So then, and Rob kind of been that guy where he's been able to just kind of express himself through his music, and where fans are able to listen to it if they need like a deeper connection to it. And I can't say that it's wrong, because it's great. It's a way for somebody to express themselves and be on the mainstream media. I like that people have like different choices in rap to follow, right? So this will always be something I enjoy. But it's also at the same time people have also been told, hey, don't show your emotions, because if you show your emotions, no one will care, right? He's kind of just beating at that stereotype, saying, no, people will care, people will listen. You might be in that terrible situation now, but you don't have to keep dying inside. Like this is him playing on that stereotype, and this is why that nostalgia, if that's the album name, it's unique. Like this is definitely an album that's going to be in my rotation for the next couple of days, next couple months, really. But it's unique. I think, to me, if I had to rate this song, I'm gonna rate it, and this is probably gonna be one of the highest rating singles I'm gonna speak about this year. But this is definitely an 8 out of 10 for me. It's amazing the amount of effort, the amount of work that has gone into this album, into this one single in itself, and how detailed and how thought-provoking the song is, right? And the chords themselves, how great they are designed. Where it's a solid melody all the way through. It's unique in the verse. In the verse, I think if anybody else could have put these lyrics together, I don't know if it would have sounded as great. Right, and so it's unique to Broadway in a way, in that sense. So it's because I know there's another song called there's another song called Boys Don't Cry. But I don't remember. It might be Boys Don't. It might not be. The title might not be Boys Don't Cry, but it's similar. When did the song out? We'll say the song came out in 1979 or 74. It came out, right, and this song had the same emotional attachment, but it didn't last long. And I think this song is probably gonna last a lot. Which I don't know, because there's an assumption. There's an assumption that this will fall under country, and if it does, I think the assumption. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where this genre will fit, and I think that's another discussion of where does this fit. Where does this song fit? It has a great guitar. It's great. It's great. Do I think? Okay, so this is another thing. Where do we put this? Where do we put this song? If we discuss this is the album and this is a song, where do we put it? Right? Because I think the assumption is gonna be that this has a great guitar sound. This has a great kind of a trap drum, probably referring to it. It has a little like a slight 808 to it, and then it has, to my better knowledge, it has a guitar to it. If it doesn't, I apologize, but it does seem like there's a guitar on this song, right? So the assumption is that this is the album gonna be classified under rap, but this particular song is gonna be under country, and I don't know. Now, Rod Wave straight out said that this was gonna be a country song. I agree with the artist every single time. It's just it has a very R&B sound to it. So if we're gonna label it, and I don't have anything wrong with it being labeled country, I just think the guitar makes it R&B. I don't know.